Hello and welcome to another edition of the How to Grow Your E-commerce Business podcast. I'm here as ever with my partner in crime, Tom. Tom, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about today?
Well, I thought we could talk about eBay today, Trevor, because I know that it is a channel that is very close to your heart. You're one of you're one of the few people left who loves it.
I do love eBay, actually. I think it's genuine. Do you know what? I tell you why I like it, because it was founded on the idea that people are generally good and decent people, and it's all, it was the original thing where people, it was a person to person exchange, and and you had the kind of invented feedback, and it was built on goodwill, and I think that there's a lot to celebrate in that. And the fact that these days that it's all, that it's a source of great pain to me that it's not a bigger force in the world.
So, aside from its moral values, is it still a good place to sell?
I think so. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and argue that it's like, a great force in e-commerce. I mean, the thing is, there's a limited number of options you have for selling online, right? And in terms of marketplaces, you've got, Amazon's the biggest, but then eBay is the second biggest. Now, it's an awful lot smaller, but it is still a fairly, important and significant e-commerce player. And a lot of people will, you won't get massive sales off it, but you'll get decent, respectable, and consistent sales. And in some markets, it's still very big. I mean, I'd say that, things like, I always thought of it as the kind of thing that, blokey stuff does quite well on it. So tools and, stuff like that do really well. I mean, of course, obviously there's it's good for two things. You have the secondhand products. It's really, I mean, I'd say it's still the premier place for secondhand products, but we're not really interested in secondhand products on this podcast, but it is great for, if you've got, if you're auctioning off things. I mean, you can't do that on Amazon at all. And there are some people like, clipping, after its market share, like, Vinted and stuff like that. But I think they're still an awful lot smaller. So yeah, I think it's still worth doing. And I think our clients use eBay. Some of them
They do. Yes. And I mean, I used to say that eBay is about maybe 10% of your total e-commerce sales. I suspect it's slightly smaller than that now. But we do see a mix of, obviously people use it for clearance, but ongoing sales, work quite well of good product. It's still a good place for that across most categories, I think. So, for me, the value is, you tend to have your website, which is roughly half your sales, Amazon, which is roughly half your sales, and then you want to diversify away from that. And eBay is the next best place to go.
Yeah, I mean, you do have limited options. I mean, it's really about diversifying the American companies that you give your business to. But I would have thought that, I'd say if you were the kind of business turning over, say, £1 million a year, right, and you're selling on eBay, I would expect you to do somewhere between 5 and 10% of your sales.
Yeah.
So if you're doing, probably 5 or 10 grand a month, and it's incremental sales from the same inventory. It's mostly the sales are it's commission based mostly, though you do have to pay for, you've got a subscription, small subscription. So it's fairly low risk. It's easy to set up. It's international in its scope. The fees, or we'll talk about the fees in a minute, but I mean, the fees are comparable with these other channels. I think it's worth a look at.
We've set clients up with, they've got a Shopify website. They use Shopify Marketplace Connect app to connect eBay. So the orders come into Shopify, the pricing comes from Shopify, the product details come from Shopify. So it's actually almost no work to run.
Yeah.
It just fits in with everything else. So it's kind of, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, it's also, I mean, some of these channels are a bit of a pain. I mean, it's well integrated with things, as you said. So the integration is an issue. It's pretty easy to set up the listings. I mean, the problem with some of these smaller marketplaces is they're a bit of a pain to integrate with, and also just difficult to use. I wouldn't say that eBay is difficult to use, and it's definitely not a pain to integrate with. So it's quite easy to maintain. So even if the sales are quite low, it's as you say, it's quite easy to maintain, and all the tools will integrate with it. Whereas, I mean, I'm just going to pick a figure here. One of the miracle marketplaces, for example, it's quite hard to set up, it's quite hard to maintain, and the sales are low. Whereas eBay, the sales would be interesting enough to really bother with, and it's easy enough to keep it going, I'd say. So yeah, why wouldn't you do it? What's the, and I think, most it's good for most products, as in, I mean, probably not good for high-end luxury items, but most products, I mean, that's not most products, is it? So
Yeah.
and yeah, so
What about, I mean, one thing that's obviously different about eBay is that there's different mechanics in that you can trade the auction, things like that. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, okay. So you've got, so there's different types of listings. So, broadly speaking, there's fixed price products and there's auction listings. Now, auction listings really are only for products where you don't know what the price is. So if you've got a demand is high and you don't know what the price is. So let's say that you've got a piece of antique furniture, right? And there's nothing like it on there. And you think, I'd probably put it on for, and you don't know what the price is. So you can't put a fixed price in it because you're not quite, you might be underselling or overselling it. Something like that would be good for auction, and you just kind of leave it for a few days, and you can just pull it before the last day, because you can't pull it on the last day. If you're happy with how it's going. Whereas I think if you have an idea of what the going rate for something is, so if you were selling an iPhone, right, you can look on eBay and you can see what the kind of rate that these things are going for, and you can just put it on for that price. And then I'd probably put it on a bit higher and then slowly reduce the price over time. So I think that most, I used to use a lot of auctions, and these days I tend to use a lot of fixed price items.
We've used auctions. Well, in fact, when we've had surplus stock in the past, we've created like what would you call it? An escalator, a downward escalator for products that aren't selling. So they don't sell at full price. You start off by cutting your price, 20%, 40%, 50%. And then if they're still not selling, then we bundle them up, create a bundle, and stick that on an eBay auction.
So auctions are really good the thing about an auction is it will sell, right?
Yeah.
And you can argue that it is the market going rate. So if we had, so for example, right, I had a returned pram once, and I didn't really know what it was going to. So I put it on auction, and it sold, and I got what it was worth, but it sold, right? It was gone. And that is the benefit of auctions. Whereas if you're trying to get, it's a toss up between, the speed of sale and the price, right? You can put these things on a high price and wait for that one person to come along and buy it, right? Or you can, you can just put an auction and it will sell, and you'll have got rid of it, and got the money, and you'll move on in life.
Sometimes I would say you could turn products into cash.
Yeah. So I'd say auctions are good for if you're a company and you've got some stuff and you want to get rid of it quickly and not really sure what the price is, or it's a kind of a one-off. So, say you've got, you've got like customer returns, high value customer returns, right? So say you're a company selling, electronic, returned, I don't know. I'll go back to my example with the pram. Slightly knackered prams that you got returned. You don't really know what the price is. You just want to get rid of them. Great for that. Other than that, I'd say that businesses want to be using fixed price items. And you can vary the price that you sell them at. And eBay is, I don't know what the percentages are, but auctions are forever, a much smaller part of their business than they were. I think it's all about the fixed price items these days. That's why Amazon's so popular, is people want to buy things at a fixed price, fundamentally.
Okay. So let's move on. What does eBay cost to sell on?
Okay, good question. If you're an individual, it doesn't cost, in the UK, it doesn't cost anything anymore. If you're a business seller, I think it starts at, I think it's like 10, 12%. It varies by category. It's a big kind of 10 or 12%. People tend to buy ads on top of it these days as well. So, and there's, various, kind of VAT and stuff like that to consider, but something like that. So it's comparable with the 15% you get on Amazon. It wouldn't be a whole pile of difference in it.
Okay. So what makes a good eBay listing?
Okay. Well, it's mostly the same things that you would have in a in any kind of business, right? So you want to have great photos, great description. Well, the important thing, okay, when people search, right, they search for the title. So if we let's just pull up an eBay. I'm just gonna pull up an eBay listing in a moment.
So while you're doing that, it's worth pointing out that eBay and Amazon actually work quite differently. So on Amazon, all the product data is held centrally and it isn't owned by the seller. And when you create a listing, you're essentially creating an offer against that product. Whereas on eBay, then you can have multiple listings for the same product. So
yeah,
this works differently. You very much own your listing, whereas on Amazon, you don't own the listing. You know, you can suggest changes, but you can't enforce them. Whereas on
well,
eBay,
it's a catalog. I mean, that is one of the things. I mean, they do have a catalog which you can pre-fill details with on eBay, but it's not. It's like, on Amazon you've only got a catalog. On eBay, they if you're selling popular items, there might be a catalog. Okay, so things to think about on eBay listing. Great photos, like any e-commerce thing. Good description. The title that you have people when they you list an item, you have an item title, and that's up to 80 characters, and you need to make sure it's descriptive and has keywords in it, right? Pricing is important. Like it's a competitive marketplace, and when people search for stuff, things will appear in order of something called best match, and best match is goes on the historical performance of the listing and the price. So it's important to be a good seller with good feedback and also have a good price, and it'll reward that. And in the same way, in a similar way to Amazon, it's over time, listings pick up listing history, and those listings get promoted. But these days, you'll notice for a lot of things that a lot of the top listings are actually sponsored. So in order to really get, businesses need to get much exposure, they need to start sponsoring things. Because I think if you look at a large percentage of the impressions are sponsored.
We've experimented with the level that you need to sponsor at, and it's much better to do even a couple of percent than it is not to do it at all, because you automatically rise to the top. So we find about 5% seems to be a bit of a sweet spot where you get good positions and it doesn't cost you. It maximizes your sales.
Yeah, I mean these days, it used to be on eBay that you would have that you should have like an HTML description. I mean, I'm just looking at a listing here which is like an HTML description. I don't know how important that is these days, because it makes it a bit fussy. And the other thing is a lot of people look on mobiles, and this kind of HTML kind of description doesn't really work very well on mobiles. So I think I don't know. It's probably not necessary. Having it also, another thing important for listing is to have, maintain a really good feedback rating. So, if you've got a high feedback rating with you've got both the absolute number of reviews you've got and the percentage of positive reviews is important. And the higher, the better. Though it's very, very hard to get 100%. In fact, almost impossible. Like on Amazon, it's a good idea to use the variation listings. So you have multiple products available from the same listing, though it is more difficult to set up. And also fill in the item specifics, which is like, it's data about a product that is attributes that each category on eBay will have attributes you fill in, and that's what enables people to search. So if you look at a search on the left-hand side, you will see that it's got these filtering, and if you don't add these attributes, then your products won't appear in this filter. So and also, if you've got one, add a barcode to your listing if there's a barcode product. So great descriptions, great images, keyword-rich descriptions and titles, item specifics. Have a great, give good customer service. Is important.
So how else do you succeed on eBay?
Okay, well, there's a number of different ways. So we just talked about, obviously, have optimized listings. Another way is you need to offer free shipping. Like, you can offer free shipping. Things with free shipping are promoted in the search. I think in order to be a premium listing, you need to have a next day service and a free shipping service. and that gives you a little badge, which is important. Offer good conditions, so 30-day returns, etc. We talked about using advertising. It's important to do a bit of advertising these days and to get exposure. You also have the option for offers and multi-buys. You can use you can run promotions on eBay. I think multi-buys work really well. You can say buy 3 get 5% off or something like that. It's a feature you don't get on other platforms, which I think is quite unique to eBay. You can also do offers, money off offers, etc. Which is really good. I mean, if you're looking to liquidate stock, I think that's the kind of thing you need to do, and it's great. I mean, because I think that the problem is on a website. If you're liquidating stuff on a website, then it's stuff you're trying to get rid of, and you don't necessarily want to pay, to keep driving traffic by Google Ads. Whereas if you do you can also end up with 1 or 2 things that you spent loads of money driving traffic to but never sell. Whereas if you put them on eBay, then it's commission based, and you don't waste money on stuff like that.
We also saw a client who, on their website, they had all their seconds as well as the good stuff, and the seconds were outselling the good stuff by 3 to 1. Had that been on eBay, they could have actually probably sold a lot more new, top condition stuff, and then find somewhere separate to sell the seconds would have made.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's a very good point. I mean, so I had the situation in the past. You end up with one product, and it's appearing in your Google Shopping feed, and it's not selling. So you can end up, just spending a lot of money driving traffic to it, and it never sells.
Yeah,
and sucking up your budget, and I think that eBay's a much better. See, eBay's still great.
I think we proved it. I think we have.
Still.
Okay. What else? What about internationally? Is eBay?
Well, eBay. Okay, so eBay is I don't know how many 20+ sites around the world. You can offer your products. You can either create the listing in your home country and make it available for international shipping. That's just by setting a shipping template which has the international shipping options, or you can list directly in each country, which you'll get better exposure. That's a bit of a pain to do. There's a tool called Web Interpret which will do that, and they'll charge you about 5%. It's not a terribly good tool, but it works. There's also something in the UK. There's something called the Global Shipping Program, which means that you can ship it to you. Turn the Global Shipping Program on, you ship, and that means that international buyers can buy it from you, and eBay will manage international shipping, which I think is a really good deal. So I'd recommend turning that on. So yes, I think that's one of the good things about eBay is it enables you to reach international customers.
Yeah. Okay. What about the future for eBay?
The future for eBay. Unfortunately, with eBay, I think the sales have been going down. I mean, if you look at the sales over the last 4 years, they're selling about the same as they did 4 years ago. But of course, inflation's gone up by 20-30% since then. So that much. Anyway, so I think unfortunately sales are going down, and you're also starting to get sites like Vinted and Depop and things are eating their lunch slowly. It's kind of death by 1,000 cuts. There's lots of different specific, in Vinteria, all these quite specific sites are coming along. That's negatively, but on the positive, they recently started doing free personal listings. So you don't pay any, if you're an individual selling on eBay UK, then you don't pay any fees. And I got a feeling that's going to encourage people back to the site. Because, if you sell it on, I think Vinted has no fees, but,
on Amazon, it's going to be.
Well, you sell on Amazon, you sell like 20. It's best part. It's like 17.5% on Amazon. But I used to sell books on Amazon, and then they started having no fees on eBay, so I put them on eBay instead. Great, make loads more money. It's fantastic. They pay any fees. And eBay stuff is promoted on Google Shopping, so you get good exposure for it. So I think, I wonder whether, I've always thought that something like eBay, I was surprised that someone like Google or Facebook haven't bought them and integrated them with their system. I would have thought it'd be great for Facebook, because they've got a great marketplace, and they can drive traffic from Facebook listing Facebook directly to eBay. Maybe I should have been in merchant banking.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. I don't know. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised that no one's bought them. I'm surprised that a big player with lots of traffic, a Google, a Facebook, a TikTok, hasn't bought this site and integrated with their, integrated with their offering.
Yeah.
May yet happen.
Well, one last thing I'd say about eBay is Amazon, because they're so dominant, treat suppliers not particularly well. No one enjoys selling on Amazon, whereas eBay really look after their sellers. They are so. If you've got an issue, you can talk to them. They're just a lot nicer. So
yeah, they really need you. It's a really good point, because I had this problem. So once upon a time, I had a problem with eBay, and they shut down one of my account, quote unquote, permanently, right? Because there was a Vero complaints. There was an issue with intellectual property. Send a message, got lost. Sent another message, got missed. Shut the account down. I wrote I was like, oh god. I wrote the MD of eBay, got his email address. The next day, I got an email from the office of the MD, because I said, look, we're like a respectable company. We've been selling on eBay for years, right? Come on, it's all fine. You don't need to worry about us. And which is true, we're a good actor. Someone contacted me straight away and basically opened an account and said, be more careful next time. literally said, be more careful next time. Yes, we can. So someone reasonable looked at it and said, yes, we can tell that you are, you're a company that's been around for a while. Yes, you made a mistake here, but yeah, you clearly the kind of people we want to have on this platform. Yeah. If that would happen with Amazon, you would have had to have written a multiple pathetic plans of action, which would be, ridiculous, escalating things where I would have had to promise all kinds of stuff.
Which would all have been rejected anyway.
It would all have been rejected anyway. It would have taken ages. It would have been really stressful. Or to just effectively say, yes, look, we've learned our lesson and we're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
Because they need you, as you say, eBay needs you, and Amazon doesn't. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But that's another podcast.
Why Amazon?
Maybe we should do a podcast. That's actually not. The next podcast will be on how to avoid Amazon, how to get your account reinstated. Let's do that.
Well, we know more than we'd like to.
Yes, we do know too much about that. Okay. Tom, inspirational stuff. What's inspired you recently?
Well, I had a very good experience this morning on top of a bad experience. So last night, our central heating broke on one of the coldest nights of the year. So
no.
That wasn't much fun.
Oh, no.
But the good Mrs. H called up British Gas at 9 o'clock this morning. By 10:15, the guy had come and fixed it and left. So an hour and a quarter later, whole thing solved, and we now have a nice warm house. So I am inspired by that, because generally, often you wait months for these things, but for it to happen so quickly, hats off to them.
Cool.
Good customer service from a big company. Who would have thought it?
So I'm just on my screen at the moment here. I've got a picture. For some reason, I'm a member of the James Caird Society, which is the James Caird was the boat that Ernest Shackleton escaped from Elephant Island in.
We all knew that.
Of course we knew that. But on the Lego site, you can buy a Lego version of his boat, the Endurance. And if you buy it today, I believe you get a free Sir James Caird Lego set with it. And I'm consumed by desire.
Well, and as we all know how that ends when you consume with desire.
I don't know. Do you know, I might actually be able to. I don't need it. I really don't. What am I going to do with
most of the things you buy? But there we go.
Well, that's not true. That's not true. I do use. I
need versus want.
I do occasionally buy things that I don't need, but I do sell them again. And this, on
eBay, as it happens.
Yes, on eBay. I don't know if I think I've forgotten it. Do you know? You've only just reminded me of it, so I'm not going to look at it. See what it is. It's pointless. Right, toodle pip, Tom. Until the next time.
See you next time.
Bye.